PS5 has quietly built one of the best strategy libraries on any console, from empires that take 100 hours to build to raids that fall apart in under 10 minutes. So today we are counting down 16 of the best strategy games on PS5. So, let's get started.
Now as valuable as food in this industrial age.
Let's start with the game that convinces most people they actually understand history. Civilization VI drops you in charge of a civilization all the way from the Stone Age to the space race, managing cities, technology, culture, and increasingly annoyed neighbors along the way. Every single decision ripples forward for dozens of turns, so a war you start on turn 30 can still be haunting your economy on turn 200. It is famous for a reason. One more turn always turns into 3 more hours somehow. For anyone who wants the definitive starting point into 4X strategy, this is still it.
Competition. We find our world shrinks.
Corrupt political body struck first against a peaceful visit.
After building an empire slowly, here is a game that will end your best soldier in a single unlucky miss. XCOM 2 puts you in charge of a resistance movement, fighting back against an alien occupation, managing a base, researching tech, and sending a small squad out on missions where literally anyone can die permanently. The turn-based tactical combat lives and dies on probability, and watching a 90% chance to hit whiff anyway becomes its own dark running joke. The strategic layer between missions is just as demanding as the fights themselves. For tactics fans who want real stakes attached to every single decision, nothing else quite matches the tension here. Time for something considerably weirder. Cult of the Lamb has you playing as a lamb saved from ritual sacrifice by a mysterious stranger, who then puts you in charge of building your own cult of woodland followers in return. You manage the settlement, keep your followers fed and happy, and head out into roguelike dungeons to fight for resources and new converts. It sounds like a joke premise, and honestly it kind of is, but the base management loop is genuinely deep underneath all the dark humor, and it hooks people who swear they do not even like management games. After A Cult of Lambs, here's a game with essentially zero jokes in it. Frostpunk drops you in charge of the last city on a frozen Earth, managing heat, food, and a population that will absolutely revolt if you push them too hard. Every decision is a genuine moral trade-off. Do you make children work in the generator room, or do you let people freeze instead? The city survival runs in real time with a pause button, so you can actually think before a choice that might doom dozens of people. It is bleak, it is stressful, and it might be the most memorable strategy game on this entire list.
To leave our homes and head north.
After all that moral weight, here's something you can actually finish in 20 minutes. Slay the Spire straps a deck builder onto a roguelike climb up a mysterious tower, building a deck of cards one battle at a time, and hoping your synergies hold up against whatever boss waits at the top. Every run is different, every death teaches you something for the next attempt, and somehow just one more run turns into an entire evening disappearing. It looks simple on the surface. It is absolutely not simple once you dig in. For a strategy game you can pick up between other games, this might be the most replayable thing on PS5.
In time.
Now here's a strategy game that is less about winning and more about keeping your terrible family from murdering each other. Crusader Kings III puts you in control of a medieval dynasty, and instead of managing an empire directly, you are mostly managing people, their ambitions, their grudges, and their frankly alarming hobbies. Marriages become alliances, alliances become betrayals, and an entire campaign can turn on one character deciding they hate you specifically. It has a real learning curve and a genuinely intimidating amount of systems. But nothing else on PS5 generates stories this specific to you and only you.
But the ways of power
will look upon us with envy.
After centuries of medieval backstabbing, here's a game that just wants you to be a lovable dictator. Tropico 6 puts you in charge of your own island nation, managing the economy, keeping different political factions happy, and occasionally rigging an election, because that is just how El Presidente does business. The tone stays consistently funny even while the actual city building underneath is legitimately deep, balancing tourism, industry, and a population that will absolutely protest if you push your luck too far. It leans more comedic than most strategy games on this list. If you want city building with an actual sense of humor about itself, nothing else comes close.
The values of our paradise are now being...
Is not a time for heroes.
Time to swing back toward misery. Darkest Dungeon 2 sends a small party of deeply damaged heroes down a road toward an ancient evil, and the real enemy is almost never the monsters, it is the stress and trauma your own party accumulates along the way. A perfectly winnable fight can fall apart because someone had a breakdown at exactly the wrong moment. The art style is gorgeous in an unsettling way, and the whole game commits completely to its bleak tone. It is punishing, and it does not apologize for that. For strategy fans who want their tactics wrapped in genuine dread, this delivers constantly.
From the spreading stain.
Your newly unlocked Wetlantis experts to bring the...
After that much dread, here's your palate cleanser. 2 Point Museum has you building and running your own museum empire, filling exhibit halls with everything from dinosaur bones to genuinely bizarre cursed artifacts, while keeping staff, visitors, and a few unruly ghosts all under control. The humor is constant, the sight gags never really stop, and the actual management underneath is sharper than the silly tone lets on. It is a lighter, gentler kind of strategy game by design. If you want something you can play with the volume up and a smile on your face, this is exactly that.
Decorated and vending machines well stocked.
Now, let's go bigger, considerably bigger. Stellaris drops you at the very beginning of a species' journey into space, and by the end, you could be running a galactic empire spanning hundreds of star systems, alien species, and increasingly bizarre space anomalies. The scale here is genuinely hard to overstate, since a single campaign can take you from your home planet's first satellite launch to fighting interdimensional horrors decades later. It demands patience and a real appetite for reading. But for players who want the single biggest strategic canvas on PS5, nothing else even gets close to this scale. This next one is not really about winning at all. This war of mine puts you in charge of a group of civilian survivors trying to make it through a brutal ongoing siege, scavenging for supplies, managing morale, and making decisions that have no good option attached to them. Do you steal from an elderly couple who cannot fight back? Or do you let your own group go hungry instead? It is deliberately uncomfortable, and it is one of the few strategy games that genuinely stays with you after you turn it off. This is not a fun game in the traditional sense. It might be one of the most important ones on this entire list.
Looking to see how I'm faring in the ocean.
After something that heavy, here's a game that just wants you to have a good time. SteamWorld Heist 2 puts a ragtag crew of robot pirates through side-scrolling, turn-based heists where positioning and trick shots matter more than raw firepower. Bullets ricochet off walls, cover actually matters, and pulling off a perfect angled shot across an entire ship feels genuinely satisfying every single time. The charm is constant, the writing is funny, and the whole thing never takes itself too seriously. For a strategy game that is just pure, silly fun, this is one of the easiest recommendations on this list.
The ocean and whatever emotion it feels.
Their imprisonment, ancient wizard kings come, seeking...
Back to empire building, this time with dragons involved. Age of Wonders 4 blends traditional 4X empire management with proper tactical battles, letting you build a custom fantasy race from scratch before sending them out to conquer, negotiate, or simply outlast every rival on the map. The tactical combat layer means fights are not just numbers crashing into each other. Positioning and terrain genuinely decide battles here. Between the customization options and the sheer number of viable strategies, two different playthroughs barely resemble each other. For fantasy fans who want their strategy games with actual monsters in them, this is the strongest pick on PS5.
New unities are founded.
Time for something quieter, and considerably more paranoid. Desperados III drops you into the Wild West with a small crew of outlaws, and instead of open combat, most missions expect you to plan out silent takedowns, distractions, and perfectly timed kills before anyone even notices you were there. One badly timed shot can bring an entire camp down on your head, so most of your time is spent pausing, planning, and rewinding when it inevitably goes wrong anyway. It rewards patience over aggression completely. For strategy fans who want tactics built around stealth instead of brute force, nothing else on this list plays quite like it.
That takes care of him.
One more colony to manage before we wrap this up. Surviving Mars tasks you with building humanity's first sustainable colony on the Red Planet, managing oxygen, water, power, and a very long list of things that can quietly kill your entire population if you look away for too long. Dust storms roll in without warning, supply domes fail at the worst possible moment, and every colonist you lose feels like a real setback instead of just a number. The tone stays grounded and realistic rather than dramatic, which somehow makes the stakes feel higher. For anyone who wants their strategy game dipped in actual science, this is the one.
Told among men hereafter.
And we're closing this list right back where we started, with the newest version of the game that opened it. Civilization VII refines everything the series has been building for decades, letting your civilization evolve and even shift direction entirely across different historical ages, instead of picking one identity and sticking with it forever. It keeps that same one-more-turn addiction fully intact, while finally smoothing out some of the friction longtime fans have complained about for years. It is still enormous, and it will still eat an entire weekend without you noticing. Sometimes the best way to end a strategy list is with the game that basically defines the entire genre. That wraps up our picks for 16 of the best strategy games you can play on PS5. If your favorite didn't make the list, let us know in the comments. We're always curious to see what you would add. And if you're looking for more PS5 rankings, reviews, and recommendations, make sure to stick around. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, happy gaming.